Phantom fans, my name is Sam Olmstead. His name is Justin Irwin. This is the Dump and Chase podcast. This episode is brought to you by the fine folks at Advanced Podiatry. For information on services provided and treatments offered, office locations, and appointment information, check out advancedpodiatry.com. So thank you everyone for tuning in this week, either on Western Reserve Radio, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And hopefully this show is one of those favorites. So, Justin, our scheduling has been a little wonky since the season ended. There has been news that we have been waiting for that is finally public, so we don't have to talk in code anymore.
Yeah, it's been kind of bite your tongue and just carry on. But yeah, stuff that we knew several weeks ago.
Yeah. So before we get into this, we wanted to give a shout out to Phantoms goaltender Jacob Fowler. Jacob was one of the 29 that was invited to the 2022 USA Hockey Goaltender Development Camp. So stick taps to Jacob and anyone from the NTDP that will be at this camp. You can keep your greedy mitts to yourself. He's a Phantom. He's ours. Get.
Yeah. No comment.
Yeah. So, of course, the big news that has come out recently, of course, was the departure of longtime Phantoms coach Brad Patterson and the hiring of Ryan Ward as the sixth coach in Phantoms history. Here shortly, we will be talking with Coach Ward and getting to know him. But first, we wanted to talk about Brad and his time in Youngstown. Now, our joke has been that Brad was standing in a field and they built the Cavelli Center around him. Now, that line is funny as long as you don't Google dates and realize that the timeline doesn't match up. But other than that, when it's all said and done, I mean, you can be a great coach or you can be a great player. But in the end, what matters most is that you are a great person. And Brad was that in spades.
Yeah, I mean, he has obviously left his mark on Youngstown hockey. Anytime we've ever interacted with him, he has been nothing but professional. So,
two stories I wanted to tell real quick. The first was after the COVID weekend back in January with Cedar Rapids. That was, we had an e-bug situation that weekend, and most people kind of got the general concept of the emergency backup, but that was about it. So I made it a point in the post-game presser, I had asked him to explain how the e-bug works. And, he gave a very simple nuts and bolts answer, and that's something he was always very good at. Being able to simplify things without making it seem like he was talking down to you. That was something he was always very good at. But once the presser was over, he took me off to the side and actually went into a very detailed explanation of the procedures as far as the e-bugs and what's allowed as far as the league is concerned. And he had his wife and his kids waiting for him. His shift was over for the night. It was time to go home, but he took the time to break it down for me, which for me is awesome because let's face it, in that kind of situation, who am I?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's never presented that attitude, obviously. I mean, anytime we've ever talked to him, it's been, a one-to-one, I'm talking to you as a person, as a fan. And yeah. Anyway, he's a professional. He knows more about the sport of hockey in Youngstown than anybody. So like you said, he had a way of just telling you in a very simple, straightforward manner that was easily digestible. So we're going to miss that.
But the second story I wanted to tell, it was after the school day game, and I wasn't taking part in the presser. I had my wife and my youngest son, Dash, with me, and it's been well documented on this show, the relationship this past season with my son, Dash, and Trey Taylor. After the school day game, I had taken my wife and my son down, back behind the scenes after the game to, so he could say hi to Trey. And so as Brad and Matt Lipsack were setting up for the video for the interview after the game, Brad had asked me if Dash had seen Trey yet. I told him that, not yet, we're still waiting for him. And he was like, oh, well, if you want, I'll just take him into the locker room real quick. And he reached down, he took Dash by the hand and he just walked him straight to the locker room. As Matt is pretty much ready to do this interview, and Matt may have been staring daggers at me. I don't know, because I was trying to avoid eye contact with him at that point. But no, he took him straight into the locker room, and I guess it was Anderson Trilla, walked, my son around the locker room so he could go around and fist bump everybody, and then, Brad brought him right back out, to me, and then, walked back over to Matt, and they went on with, the post game, interview.
Yeah, well, I mean, I said he's a consummate professional. He's also a father, so
That's just part of his job description. You know, he does this post game presser and he decided to put it on hold to walk my 5-year-old son into the locker room to say hi to everyone. You know, and that, but just unfortunately in this, you know, in this world, in the world of hockey, in the world of sports, you know, people move on, changes are made, and see, it's unfortunate at times, but that's just the nature of the beast. On behalf of the show, on behalf of myself and Justin, you know, we want to thank Brad for being so generous and candid with us, and beyond hockey, just thank him for being a great person.
yeah, I mean, obviously, Youngstown hockey would not be where it's at without him. So he's been kind of a part of the landscape here for so long. It's going to be interesting going forward, but I'm sure he will go on to make his mark elsewhere. So good luck to him. I wish him the best of luck in whatever he does, and I'm sure wherever it is, he will leave the same mark.
Yeah. So basically, I mean, so essentially with that, it's closing one chapter of, you know, Phantom's history. And now, you know, as of now, we're starting a new chapter. So that's what we're going to be doing in this episode. We're going to take our first break. When we come back, we will be joined by the new head coach of the Youngstown Phantoms, Ryan Ward. This is the Dump and Chase podcast right here on Western Reserve Radio.
Miss an episode of By All Means, and you could miss a lot.
I have the sound up, and I appreciate the guys that do the work now. But it is with great appreciation I see what the guys do, not only the announcers, but also the players. So we've had wonderful playoffs. I mean, single, double, triple overtime games. It's been fantastic.
By All Means, Tuesdays at 5, right here on Western Reserve Radio and streaming live on westernreserveradio.com.
And we're back with the Dump and Chase podcast brought to you by Advanced Podiatry. And we are now joined by the newest member of the Phantom family, head coach Ryan Ward. Ryan, welcome to Youngstown and welcome to the Dump and Chase podcast.
Thanks, Sam. Yeah, thanks, Justin. Happy to be here on the Dump and Chase podcast. Obviously, ecstatic to be the next head coach of the Phantoms. I honestly like talking to the guys today and talking to our ownership and management. Couldn't be more excited. So I appreciate you having me on, and look forward to a great summer and a successful start to the season.
Okay, so jumping right into this, you went to college at Bowling Green. You were able to escape Ohio. Now you're back. So how are you feeling about that? Coming back to Ohio, coming to Youngstown.
You know, it's funny. I my time at Bowling Green, I went home the first Christmas break that I had freshman year. I went home, picked up my car, and I never left Bowling Green until I graduated. So to me, Ohio's always been home. I loved my time in Ohio. Obviously being from the East Coast, Massachusetts, it's always great to go back there now, but being in Ohio feels like home. And those years at Bowling Green were some of the best I've had.
All right. So you finish up this last season with the Windy City Storm. What was the process as far as you getting hired? Did the team reach out to you? Did you hear there was an opening and kind of threw your hat into the ring? How did that kind of work out? I mean, we don't have to go into negotiating tactics or anything like that.
Yeah.
But
no, yeah. I mean, that's a great question. I think the GMs, Jason Deskins and Ryan Kosecki, we've coached against each other for a while. Obviously being with Tri-City for the last couple of years in the player development role and integrated with Anthony and those guys. I've always kind of had a little bit of ties to the USHL here, but really it was kind of Jason and I coaching against each other. And really we've had some great games against each other the last few years. And I think we just started talking and everything kind of aligned. And we've been going through this process here for the last few weeks. And right before the draft, actually, we started. And, it just worked out. I think everything was aligned. It was one of those things that we were on the same page. And, moving forward, I think that's a great recipe for success for all of us.
So I guess I'll start out asking, the first part of your resume has you listed as a video coach and then transitioning to a bench coach. What was that like starting out for you and making those transitions through the years?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like anything. I played hockey growing up, but I was awful. I'll be the first to tell you that. And to me, I always loved the game, and I got involved. Actually, it's funny. I got involved in high school as a stick boy with the Providence Bruins in the American Hockey League, and I met Scott Gordon. And Scott Gordon, I was kind of a rink rat that would do anything anyone needed, or I was always around there. And I probably worked 16 hours a day from when I was 13 to 18. And video started becoming big, and so I mean that was kind of the start of it. And then when I went to Bowling Green, I wanted to go to a school that I could be involved in the coaching staff. So I got involved at Bowling Green, and going into my senior year, Scott Gordon got the New York Islanders job as the head coach. And he called me. I was actually going to go to law school, and I was studying for my LSATs. I remember I was in Florida at my dad's house, and I was studying for my LSATs, and this phone rings. It's Scott Gordon. I'm like, "Hey, Flash, what's going on?" And he's like, "Hey, Wardo, I just got this job with the New York Islanders, and I need to hire a video coach. I'd be wondering if you'd like to join our coaching staff." And it was one of those things where I'm 20 years old, and I'm like, "Wait a second, what?" So it was great. We started there, and then obviously, as the video coach, you're learning a lot, and you're doing a lot of the grunt work, and you're watching video, and you're watching tons of video, and you're working with the guys and the players, and obviously the coaching staff, and that kind of grew, and your responsibilities grow as you go. And I got to be with Toronto, and obviously they're a very, very progressive organization with Gord Dineen at first, and then Sheldon Keefe and Mike Babcock. And Kyle Dubas leading the charge. Obviously, I can't say enough about Kyle, but so that was kind of the last stop there. And then I was able to go to Sault Ste. Marie in the Ontario Hockey League as an assistant and cut my teeth. We're very fortunate to have unbelievable players, and probably one of the tightest knit coaching staffs with our GM Kyle Raftis and Joe Sorella and Drew Bannister. And I ran the forwards and the power play there. We had 2 really successful years, and we had a lot of really good players. Drew Bannister got the AHL job in San Antonio. So I took that job with him as an assistant. Fortunately, the Blues won the Cup. It was an unbelievable experience to be part of that organization. And then I transitioned to a head coach at Selects Academy, and then here with Tri-City and the Windy City Storm running that whole program. So it's been a long road, but when you don't play at a high level, I think gaining that experience is necessary to relate to the players and be in different situations. And you know what they say, experience is experience. So I wouldn't trade one single step of the way.
Well, you get the certain types of people that think, maybe because you weren't that great of a player, that's not going to, that'll translate to, what you would be like as a coach.
Sure.
At the same time, nobody is talking about Wayne Gretzky's coaching career.
No.
Funny, I was actually on a coaching staff that coached against Wayne with the New York Islanders, and when he was the Coyotes. Anyway, obviously, I'm not going to comment on that. They call him the great one. No, but I think I think that stuff is coaching is coaching and playing is playing. I think that one of the things you have to do is surround yourself with people to give you perspective of players and at a high level. And there's no, I just believe being your authentic self as a coach or a player or a person is the most important thing. Right. So I don't pretend to ever say like, oh, back when I played or anything like that. The guys that I've coached understand that I'm a pretty straightforward, self-deprecating person. So, I think for me, I poke fun at myself anyway, but, I think if you look at some of the coaches in the world that are the best coaches, it's not necessarily because they played. It's, I think, the passion and the love for your players and the willingness to learn and, really how you teach and the message you present every single day, I think is the most important.
So having a video background the past couple of years with the COVID shutdowns and, lack of access to rinks, how big has that been?
Yeah, I think it's funny. I was real fortunate to work for an organization here in Chicago that we were pretty good and we were safe and we followed the guidelines and things like that. But we never shut down. We were a kind of a safe place for players to come and develop. And if you look at the teams that we had come through here, like the guys did a real good job. And we were, obviously, like I said, all the guidelines and precautions we were good with. But we do a ton of video every day anyway, and it's it's a huge teaching tool when you look through how the guys learn today and how much they watch of themselves on Instagram. I think you have to be good at it, and you're either part of the steamroller or part of the road, and that's just something that I found very effective. But certainly year in, year out, that the technology gets better. I mean, I could share my screen right now and show you 17 tabs of Instat just from video I've been watching to get prepared for next season. So, I think it's a huge part of the game.
Just the automatic tracking and, instant stats now.
It's come so far. You guys wouldn't even believe what we have access to.
We would. Yes, I would. And
awesome.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
All right, so with that, we're going to take another break. More with Phantoms head coach Ryan Ward when we come back. Stick around right here on Western Reserve Radio.
Advanced Podiatry has been making happy feet in the Mahoning Valley for 35 years. Our offices are located in Cortland, Champion, Austintown, Columbiana, and Howland. Our Howland office has relocated to 8601 East Market Street in Howland Corners. Advanced Podiatry offers sports medicine and treatment plans for all ages. You can also request an appointment online by visiting our website at advancedpodiatry.com. Advanced Podiatry, where surgery is always a last resort.
Welcome back to the Dump and Chase podcast, brought to you by Advanced Podiatry. We are talking with new Phantoms head coach Ryan Ward. So Ryan, you've touched on this a little bit in the previous segment, that you were a video coach at the NHL level with the Islanders, with the Maple Leafs. I think around this area, video coach wasn't something we really heard too much about until the Penguins back-to-back run. And we heard a lot about like Andy Socher with the Penguins.
Yeah, I know Andy.
I guess at any level, but like specifically like at the NHL level, like what is like the responsibilities of the video coach?
Yeah, I think it varies from team to team. I've been lucky to be around staffs that you have a ton of responsibility. I think the biggest thing that you do is, it's a lot of pre-scouting. It's a lot of analysis on your own team, right? You're the kind of guy that's tagging things and analyzing your own team, as far as, we always used to say, or Mike Babcock always used to say, catch them doing it right. So you're trying to find things that we're doing well, things that we need to clean up, analyzing your own game via video, and you're helping the players with their shifts and pre-scouting and goalie scouting and, even amateur scouting. You're doing a lot of that stuff now, but it just comes so far every single year. Really, it's just a huge tool. Like when you talk about how far video coaching has come, I mean, you are pre-scouting. They call it A, B, C, and D games in the NHL. So basically the team's last game, their second to last game, their third to last game, their fourth to last game. So you're breaking down those and you're finding tendencies. You're putting meetings together for coaches. You're helping the coaches. You're, the assistants and the head coach. And really it varies from staff to staff, but it's really just kind of like a analysis position where, you do it everything through video.
And now it's live, so in game.
Yeah, the NHL has gone that way big time. I think we're a little behind in the USHL, but I think it's funny. Like we have the same process in the USHL that the NHL does for as far as pre-scouting or breaking down film and teaching your guys. I mean, we've gone through the last 3 weeks as a coaching staff with Gooder and Andy Contoy, and we've been on Zoom doing video once or twice a week. So it's a huge part of what we do. It's a big part of teaching the kids the new age athlete, and it's just something that just helps make strides in what you do.
So your experience in the NHL and the AHL, what is like the carryover been as far as kind of bringing that knowledge to like the youth level and the junior level?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I think we take for granted how much these kids can take in and understand, right? And I think first and foremost, our job as coaches and in this league in the USHL is to get these guys to reach their full potential and ultimately prepare them for the National Hockey League. And I say that with all the talks that I've had with our players, like our job in in Youngstown as a coaching staff is to get them, ready for their NCAA stop. But at the end of the day, like, we want to prepare them to be National Hockey League players. And I think, I fully anticipate Youngstown becoming the premier place to play junior hockey in the United States. And, I think for me, like, getting these guys ready to go play pro is most important. That comes from routine and content and curriculum, what we do every day, the structure of our schedule and how we play. But I think really we underestimate how great these players are and how far ahead they are of maybe previous generations of where, like, what they can learn and the knowledge they can accept and how skilled they are as players. So that's the one thing. And I think one of the advantages of coaching at the youth level for a few years after coming from pro is you get to kind of take the high level complexity stuff and break it down into terms that maybe a developing mind would use. But it helps you as a coach because at the end of the day, your message is getting clearer and more concise. So now, regardless of the audience that you have that you're presenting to and the people that you're trying to teach and the population that you want to develop, I do feel like it makes you a better coach being able to teach and present and convey your message from the highest level, down to the youth level. And I think that's a huge advantage coming into the USHL, where you're getting for really the first time the melting pot of the best players in the world.
I think, and that's kind of one of the things that's drawn both of us to, this level of hockey is it is kind of that transition where you start to see it all come together.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
100%.
yeah. Like
do you, having the NHL experience that you have when you're, coaching these younger players, do you like name drop some of these guys? I mean, if you're talking to a defense, like your time in Toronto, if you're talking to a defenseman now, can you, tell a defenseman, when Dion Phaneuf would get pinned here, this is kind of, this is what was successful for him for getting out of it. If Tyler Bozak was pinned in the corner, this is what he was successful with, I mean, can you kind of name drop like that or?
No, me personally, I don't know what other guys do. I quite honestly, number one, I don't think any of our players would have any idea of who those guys are. Number two,
oh, it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, I know, not Bozy maybe, not to take anything away from those guys, but certainly for me, I just don't think that's effective, right? I think it's it has to be very, very with the amount of content that is available these days. You have to be current, and I think there's times maybe one-on-one where you tell stories or you try to make the connection to a player about having success and what you've seen, but I don't think that anyone really cares about what your past experience regarding that level and things like that. They're all looking for you to get them to that level.
So like your time with like San Antonio and St. Louis, did you end up with like any paraphernalia, Stanley Cup, like a staff ring or something like that? Or
No, I do. I do. St. Louis was a great organization to work for, and I do have a Stanley Cup ring from the St. Louis Blues run. It was they're one of the most classy organizations. There's a reason why they're having success, and I remember getting my Stanley Cup ring, and it was probably one of the most memorable days of my life. So it was something you work for. Obviously, when you're not in the NHL every day, doing that, it's a little bit different. But I think just to have one and to see it every now and then is a pretty humbling reminder of what your goals should be.
So you're not going to do like the Shaquille O'Neal type of thing. If you're trying to give someone advice and they're looking at you funny, you just start pointing at the ring.
Yeah, that will not be something that I do. I think I've literally, I don't even know if I've worn it one time. I think maybe like, I don't even know if I've worn it. It's something that my son brought it to show and tell, which was, I guess, probably cool for him. But yeah, I haven't worn it. It sits in my closet at my house, and it's just something that maybe every now and then you look at and you say, yeah, I get it. We got to get back there. So, it's no Shaquille O'Neal moments for me. I'll tell you.
Okay. All right, so we're going to take another break. On the other side, we'll discuss with Ryan what we can look forward to in the 2022-23 season with the Phantoms. You are listening to the Dump and Chase podcast on Western Reserve Radio.
The Dump and Chase podcast is the unofficial fan podcast of the Youngstown Phantoms, but it's not always about hockey.
Have you ever played golf?
No, you should see me on the driving range. It's scary.
I haven't played in a few years, but I think the last time I played, I shot like an 83.
On 9 or 18?
On 9.
Still not bad compared to me.
Yeah. I mean, it would have been 80, but the windmill kept getting in the way.
The Dump and Chase podcast, every Wednesday at 5:06 on Western Reserve Radio.
And we're back here on the Dump and Chase podcast, which is brought to you by Advanced Podiatry. We are talking with new Phantoms head coach, Ryan Ward. So Ryan, you know, as far as what you've seen so far, the returners that will be coming back this season, you know, talking about like, just off the top of my head, like William Whitelaw,
Sure.
fellow South Kent alum, Jacob Fowler, who I guess you left right before he got there, but
I did, yeah.
yeah. And then looking at it's hard to say. You can look at the names on the paper, but you know, you can't really get a full idea until you get these guys on the ice, work them out, see what they got. So I guess just on paper, what are your thoughts on the roster where it stands right now?
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing. We have several. It's funny, the connections in youth hockey, right? Like if you go through our draft, we draft a couple of guys that we had at Windy City, and then Fowles, and actually the guy that we drafted.
It's a small world.
The goalie, yeah, Colin Wynn. I coached Colin Wynn at Selects, and obviously Pittner went to South Kent. So there's different connections. Like I coached against obviously, you know, Svoboda and all those guys. So I think that it's a very small world, and coming through it here, knowing the birth years, I think is awesome. But I will tell you one thing, after talking to the majority of the guys here, and I couldn't be more excited about the quality of person that we have coming in, and the quality of player. Like I've done a ton of video, done a ton of homework. You know, I think just we have a very deep team. We have a skilled team. We have the biggest thing I will tell you about our group is they're hungry. And they're hungry, they're driven, they're motivated. Every single player, to a man that I've talked to leading up to this, you know, kind of getting into camp and getting ready for camp, like they're already getting back after it. So to me, they're a hungry group. They're a tight group. Willie Whitelaw and I had a great talk. You know, I think that the fellas that I've talked to, and you know, they've all been kind of chomping at the bit to get going. So to me as a coach, a first year head coach, a new coach, a guy that probably no one knows, like I'm super excited to have that group, to be kind of the change in the guard of the Youngstown Phantoms. And I can tell you that, you know, cautiously optimistic here about how we're gonna start the season.
So you've been watching the video. What have you seen that you're going to change? What didn't you like?
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily not liking it. I think those guys did an unbelievable job. Obviously, they had a huge turnaround last year, and I think they're you know, they did a great job, and kudos to the players and the coaches and all that. But I'll say the one thing I think that you know, and if you look at any team that I've coached, or you know, anything, we're going to be in your face, and we're going to play with the puck, and we're going to get it back when we don't have it, and we're going to win our transitions, and we're going to get active. We're going to be creative. We're going to make plays. You know, we're going to use the middle of the ice. We're going to have 5-man attacks. Like we are going to be a team that is going to be, you know, hate to use the buzzword relentless, but in every sense of the word, like we are going to be down your throat. And I think that's just something that is going to start day one. And you're either in or you're out with it. And our guys, like, we're going to come to play every single day, and we're going to be on the attack at all times.
You alluded to this just a little bit ago. I wanted to bring this up. We have our draft recap show coming up, hopefully sooner than later. Since you would be the expert here for a couple of these players, the Phantoms in phase 1 had 2 picks in the second round. And they took Grant Young and Finn McLaughlin from Windy City. So just maybe as a little draft recap preview here, what could you tell us about those 2 guys?
Yeah, those are 2 guys that are culture drivers, and 2 players that I know personally, obviously, but take that away from it. I mean, those guys are legit, like top of the class prospects. Grant Young, who we took first there, he's got an unbelievable motor, explosive skater, brilliant hockey mind. He's a unbelievably dialed in kid. He's from Colorado. He's got a great family, does everything it takes to have success. And I think Grant is going to be a huge part of our future. And unbelievable teammate in the locker room. He was the captain at Windy City. Just a leader in every sense of the word, and has great offensive instincts, has a rocket of a shot. The kid's going to be a stud. Obviously, we won't rush him, but he's going to be a great player. And I think Finn McLaughlin is one of the smartest defensemen I've worked with in a long time. Great, unbelievable family. He's going to play in Alberta next year, which is great. He'll be playing against older kids. Finn is probably the most genuine human being I've ever been around. He treats every single person he meets with grace and respect. And he is just makes plays off the charts. When we talk about how we want to play as a team, like this kid, I mean, he will be big time. He makes plays. He's strong. He's going to be a beast. Like, he can skate. He joins the rush. He's super cerebral at the offensive blue line. The reads he makes with the puck are unbelievable. And he's just someone that will never complain. He goes to work every single day. His habits and details and process is unbelievable. He's never in a rush. And those are two cornerstones of the organization that are going to be here for a long time.
All right. And then one more player, he was taken in phase one in last year's draft by the Phantoms, Daniel Johnson. Now, we got to see him in main camp, was especially impressed with his skating. I would say more than anything, his skating ability. We got to see him come up for an affiliate game there at the end of the season. How is Daniel Johnson coming along, especially in the past year?
Yeah, it's funny. I saw DJ today. He helped me move a couch. No, DJ, I'll tell you what, DJ, when we started the youth organization in Chicago, DJ was the first commit. And it says a lot to be the first guy off the boat, right? So I think I've got a ton of respect for DJ. DJ as a person is one of the most loved players in our entire organization. He takes time to work with the younger kids and the older kids, and the Windy City organization. And I'll tell you what, like, he is one of the most athletic people. He plays an instinctive game. He obviously has things to work on like everyone else, but DJ is an unbelievable skater. He's sticks up for his teammates, not afraid to play physical, play through any pain. I remember he played through a dislocated shoulder, which was hilarious. Not hilarious, but I couldn't believe he did it. So DJ is a kid that you want on your side, and you want him to be part of the team. And obviously for him, he's, open door like everyone else here. So DJ is a kid that I like my own son, look up to, and just think he's got a bright future.
As far as, and it's hopefully this is the last time we get to mention this, but the Phantoms 2 seasons ago was a bad season all around. This past season, a lot, with the GM starting at the back end and, building out from there, improving the defensive play of the team. There was a 1.25 goal difference as far as goals allowed from 2 seasons ago to last season. That, goals per game dropped by 1.25 goals.
Are you talking about goals for or goals against?
Goals against.
Okay.
And then, of course, the penalty kill improving the way it did. Kind of the sticking point for the Phantoms this last year was the offense did not really improve. The goals per game was right around the same. Power play percentage actually dropped by like a point compared to the season before. So while the defense made as much progress as it did, the offense not so much. What are you going to be looking at to do? Because one of the things I've read about you so far is kind of your coaching with the power play. And that seems to be the thing that everybody brings up about you is your coaching with the power play. So, I mean, what are you going to be looking at in that regard to really kind of get the offense kind of caught up with the defense this coming season?
Yeah, I think, listen, the hardest thing to do in hockey is score a goal. And I think our staff, Andy Contoy and Brandon Gawkin, like, in talking with them, like, we have a plan for everything we're going to do. I think Andy does a great job. Brandon does a great job. For me, it's taking the reins off, really. We'll defend and we'll defend because we want the puck back. And I think, we have the D-core and the goalies to bail us out back there. But at the end of the day, like, we're going to play offense and we're going to be focused on offense and we're going to play offense and we'll defend and we'll back check. And that's going to be a huge part of our identity, but we're going to let it loose here offensively. And I think the players thrive on that. I think they want to make plays. I have no worry about us keeping the puck out of our net. And the whole goal is to keep the puck out of our net because we have the puck so much, right? So I think that's what we're going to look to do. For me, we have a lot of different plans and tactics for it, but at the end of the day, we're just going to let the players make plays and make sure that we're giving them the content, curriculum, and resources to step on the ice and play completely confident without fear.
All right. Before we go to break here, I want to ask you, so what is Ryan Ward, the coach, going to look like on the bench? I mean, are you a quiet reserve guy on the bench? Are you a screamer? Are you throwing sticks at the referees?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I don't know. I've never watched myself on the bench. I think I'll be intense. I think I'm a passionate guy by nature. I have my players' backs for sure. And I think I definitely won't throw sticks, but I'll be probably pretty intense and passionate. And if there's something we can control that we're not controlling, that's going to make me upset. But at the end of the day, like I coach every game, like it should be, in my opinion, with passion and juice and making sure our players understand that I'm in it with them. I don't think I'm as reserved as some guys, but everyone will know that we're here to play. So, I think I'll feed off our players and hopefully they can feed off me and we're going to make sure we approach every game like we can win it.
Okay. So have you ever been thrown out of a game?
Yeah, I did. I've been thrown out of a game. I was thrown out of a game in youth hockey, I believe, because I said Jesus Christ, and we were in the Bible Belt there, and and it wasn't good. The referee said, "Don't ever use my Lord's name and Savior in vain." So I learned a lesson there for sure, I think that's the only game I've been thrown out of.
Was that before or after you started working with Tony Noreen?
I wasn't going to say it, but.
Well, technically it was after. I know Ant is pretty animated, but yeah, no, it was, it was in one of those youth hockey tournaments. So I don't even know what counts.
So it wasn't something you learned from him?
No, Anthony and I are pretty similar though, from a passion standpoint. So no, Anthony's great. He's one of my best friends.
We've seen a few games where he just does not stop.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's a learning experience for everyone.
Including the referees.
Yes.
All right, so we've been talking with Phantoms head coach Ryan Ward. We're going to take one last break, and when we come back, we'll get all of our final thoughts out and wrap up this show. This is the Dump and Chase podcast right here on Western Reserve Radio. And we're back with the Dump and Chase podcast. We want to thank our guest, new Phantoms head coach Ryan Ward, for coming on and talking with us. Ryan, is there anything you would like to say to all of the Phantoms fans who will be listening in?
No, it's excited to get going. I think you guys will be proud of the players and the organization and the team that we have on the ice this year. And I can't wait to get to Youngstown, get started. I wish we could blink and it was September 1st tomorrow.
All right, Justin, anything you want to throw in at the end or?
No, nothing that would be productive.
I appreciate the honesty. Okay, so as always, the Dump and Chase podcast is sponsored by Advanced Podiatry. For information on services provided and treatments offered, office locations, and appointment information, check out advancedpodiatry.com. You can hear new episodes of this show on Western Reserve Radio, usually on Wednesdays at 5:06. There's going to be some scheduling hiccups coming up with that, but we'll definitely let you know what's going on there. So all of the links for Western Reserve Radio, YouTube, or whatever podcast service you prefer can be found on our Linktree page, as well as the links to our social media accounts. That link will be in the description of however you chose to listen to this episode. So for Justin Irwin and our special guest, Phantoms head coach Ryan Ward, I'm Sam Olmstead. Thank you for tuning in to the Dump and Chase podcast right here on Western Reserve Radio. Bye now.